Well, I guess everybody can up here. Well, 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 up
Oh, that
here.
don't sound
Well,
good.
up here. Well, up here. Well, up here.
I
Well,
think we got a false
up
start
here.
or something.
Well, up here. 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 We're having a false start, so give us just a second. All right, can you hear me now?
I got you, but there is I don't know, there is a glitch in the system.
Glitch in the matrix. All right, folks, hold on while we're working through some quick technical difficulties. Let me check here and see if I hear 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 and see if I Okay, testing now. What about now?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Just had to reseat the connection.
Okay. Well, you sounded like I mean something off of a Bugs Bunny show or something. I don't
Oh,
know.
there's no telling. Let me get the chat going. It's been one of those days for me. So, there's no telling. All right, let's see if so I'm coming in loud and clear now, all right?
Loud and clear, crystal clear. Elk
Okay.
naps. Elk naps. Surely that's got to be an alias. I mean, and if it's not, I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
sure seems like an alias.
Well, and we got to be careful because, since we've been deleted from YouTube, our last week's show, folks, and we've had several of you reach out. If you haven't noticed, last week's show just mysteriously poofed from YouTube.
Yeah, so we are on the radar from the cancel culture. I mean,
Yes.
we are in their crosshairs. They have hit us.
Yes,
A lot of you probably didn't even notice it.
Yeah, but a few people did. So, all right, let's go ahead and let's do our countdown deal. I'm going to double check audio again, grab something to drink. Folks, y'all grab some popcorn, tag some friends. We'll be back in our normal deal, 2.5, 3 minutes. That'll give us and you a chance to share the show out. And we'll see what all we're going to talk about tonight. And we will show the actual email from YouTube and see what happened and why they deleted us. Plus, a whole bunch of other stuff, including trash around Bossier. We'll be back.
Just, they feel helpless. They don't feel heard. They have nowhere to turn.
In all honesty, we try to lay low a little bit because of the fear that we would not be able to camp there.
And I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Hello, everybody. I don't think I've ever done a video before on here, but yeah, I wanted to tell y'all what frustrates me a little bit about permits.
Cockroach of the week is, drumroll please, Allie Feaster Smith.
We can't be apathetic about what's going on in our state. We have to all pull up our bootstraps and get on top of this. So you're right. There's a problem out there. I mean, and man, you can see it everywhere.
Well, look, we have allowed government to become our wherewithal to everything.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
You're about to be killed by a Zamboni, or you're gonna die in 5 minutes.
This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by Eagle Truck Center, soaring to new heights. The Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 23 years in the mortgage business. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. Well, we made it through another countdown. That would be, I don't remember when we started doing the countdowns, but basically number 111.
111 shows, 111 nights we have came on here, and we're telling people about what's going on in their community. We're telling people about maybe what they should be paying attention to.
Yes. And,
I don't-
you know, the nice thing about it is we're non-discriminatory. We pick on everybody.
We have picked on everybody. In fact, I think one of our fans, in which they are a fan anonymously, said there's not nobody in this town that we haven't lied about.
Oh, yeah, we just lie about everybody. But usually, we at least share screenshots about the lies. And
You know what's
this, well, let me bring this up. Speaking about talking about the community, so our good friend Barry Butler is watching, and he is commenting, and he says that the stable is up for sale. Do you know where the stable is?
I do know where the stable is, and I've never been to the stable, but it's an interesting thing. I was in Lafayette all weekend. You knew that.
Right.
Someone in Lafayette asked me what's going on with the stable. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like, I caught off guard. I was like, I have no idea. Maybe Rex knows. So Rex, do you know?
I have no idea. This is the first I've known about it, and I've got my best friend for 30-something years lives over there in Tiburon, and, you know, I go over there several times a week, but I hadn't been by there in a few days, so this is the first I'm hearing about it. Wonder why Ryan is selling the stable. Because, look, I'll tell you, you know, I've had my differences with Ryan in the past as well as you have, but, you know, I wouldn't say friends maybe, but, you know, we talk every now and then. But one thing about the stable, it's been put to very good use with Man Church, and he's let us use it for the high school fishing deal and the junior fishing league before and all that. So that's very interesting that the stable is up for sale.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, I don't know. Is it? It's maybe Ryan could elaborate what's going on there.
Yeah, maybe he may not comment during the show, but since I'm pretty sure he's watching, maybe he can text later and let us know what's up.
Hey, our good friend Tony Thornton. Hey, Tony, hadn't seen you in a while, brother. Keep up the good work. He says, if I had to guess, it's property next to him.
Well, that could be true. That would be odd. I can't see Ryan selling the stable. So maybe it is a property next to him, but we'll see. Okay, so enough of being a real estate show tonight. Let's talk, speaking of real estate, we had some of our real estate removed from YouTube.
We did, but you know, it's not our real estate. It's not the only real estate that's being removed, erased, or put away. I mean, there's a lot of people, Rex.
Oh, there are. It's just we've, you know, so far managed to skirt around that. I don't think that we've been blocked or moderated or whatever on Facebook yet. I hadn't had any posts removed. And interestingly, I joke about it all the time. All the stuff that I've posted in the past, I've never been put in Facebook jail, ever. And I've put some pretty crazy stuff out there in the past.
Yeah, and I hadn't either. I mean,
so
not that I can recall.
Yeah, so I was a little surprised when they I got this email in, and last week's show, which was racist everywhere, and as you know, we were talking, for the folks, for those of you out there that didn't watch last week, we were talking about the Caddo oak trees and that whole scenario, and we just went down a litany of things.
So are you saying YouTube was in favor of cutting down all oak trees? They agreed? We need to cut every oak tree in Louisiana?
Well, I would like to think that might be the case. However,
let me tell you what YouTube says. So YouTube says our team has reviewed your content. Unfortunately, we think it violates our misinformation policy. We've removed it. And we know that that might be disappointing, but it's important to us that YouTube is a safe place for all. If content breaks our rules, we remove it. Got to have that whole safe space. That just drives me insane. If you think we made a mistake, you can appeal. Honestly, I'm not going to appeal it. So they're saying that our show last week advanced false claims that widespread fraud, errors, or glitches changed the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. And that is just not allowed on YouTube.
Now, wait a minute. I don't believe that I ever said anything about a freaking glitch. There was no glitches at all.
Now, we may have mentioned fraud or errors. I don't think we mentioned a glitch, other than a glitch in how ballots are counted. But anyway, oh, here we go again. Now, we can discuss this if we're discussing it in the context of how somebody else is saying it. So sources say that there was potential fraud, errors, and glitches in the 2020 presidential election. Did you know that, Duke?
You know, I have heard that, and it's interesting that you bringing up that subject in that way. And I want to expand on that just a little bit. So, if anyone, including YouTube, if you have a mobile phone, and y'all have heard about the 2000 Mules movie, and I know it's a popular thing for YouTube and Facebook and all these people to say that, oh, that's been disproven, geolocation, that's not accurate, blah blah blah. Okay, so I challenge you and all the people watching YouTube, Facebook, all y'all, open up your phone, and I want you to go to Maps, and I want you to click on Maps, and look at where the little icon, the little dot, and tell me if that's accurate describing your location.
Yeah, I can tell you mine's pretty darn accurate.
And I'm just wondering, I mean, is it accurate or is it not? I mean, and like zoom in on it and tell me, how far off is it? I mean, and I'm wondering if YouTube or Facebook or all these people that want to say and deny that geolocation tracking and that 2000 Mules and all that is a fraud and fake. I mean, I want you to tell me is if you put in an address and it gives you directions of how to get to that address, and I'm wondering, are they disputing that if you put in an address via longitude and latitude, down to the minutes and seconds, is that not accurate? Or are they telling me that I'm being misled by Apple, by droids, galaxies, all this technology in my hand? Are you telling me that all of that is lying to me? Is that what they're saying?
Well, at least in the movies and the cool FBI movies, they use this technology a lot. And the truth is, it's used in the real world quite a bit. Now, again, some of it's not like in the movies where they, find a security camera and they can say enhance, enhance, enhance. And all of a sudden they have this magical crystal clear video. That's not the way it works in the real world. But the geolocation is very accurate. It'll vary a little bit. So, Duke, you know how my house is, and I've got my garage and office behind the house. So right now, Google Maps on my iPhone has me in my house, and I'm out in my office right now. So it's about 30 or 40 foot off, but I'm inside. If I go step out there at where my boat is, it'll dial me in pretty much exactly, standing at the back of my boat.
Well, I'm just wondering if these technology companies are saying that there is no fraud, it's errors and glitches, and that we are promoting false information. Are they acknowledging that the technology that they're pushing upon us, that it is fraudulent technology? And I'm going to go a step further. Rick, I got a link in the notes here for us to go to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, are they saying that law enforcement is making arrests for murders, fraudulently? Is that what YouTube and all of these, social media people are saying? Are they saying that, there's false charges, people are being unduly arrested and charged with crimes?
Well, I don't know, maybe
I'm,
so, but they actually do use this type of technology to catch real criminals.
well, I mean, as a matter of fact, they used it on all the January 6th arrests. I mean,
Yes,
so
they
I'm
did.
wondering, is YouTube saying that all these people that are incarcerated for the January 6th insurrection are being falsely accused, falsely charged, and falsely arrested? I
Yeah, I
don't think
mean,
they're blocking all that, are they?
is it accurate or is it not? And as we know, it is pretty darn accurate in most cases. And you're right. This picking and choosing, or the hypocrisy of it, as usual, is what gets to me. So I've got the article pulled up. If we want to go ahead and maybe talk about that, as a grand jury indicting 2 men in the death of the 8-year-old girl shot during the Atlanta protest. So you want to kind of clue our viewers in on what's going on with that?
Yeah, this young 8-year-old girl was shot during, and I'm going to point out, the BLM riots, whatever you want to call it, in Atlanta, over a quote unquote officer involved shooting. But, this young innocent girl got shot. And the interesting thing was that the people who shot this young girl, they were arrested and determined, it was determined who they were by virtue of geolocation. In fact, Rex, did you
Mm-hmm.
know it was the same geolocation data to determine who the 2,000 mules were? Did you
Wait a
know
minute.
that?
You've got to be kidding me. What a coincidence.
Eh, What a coincidence. So is YouTube saying that the people who murdered were indicted? Are they saying that they were wrongly accused of killing this little girl? Is that what YouTube is saying?
Well, you can have it both ways.
I
Either the
mean,
data
are,
is accurate or it's not.
which is it, YouTube? We would
Yeah.
love for you to explain to us how the people who have been arrested and indicted and for this murder, pr- I'm dying to know. I'm dying. I want to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. I would like to hear that as well. So here's what we're going to do, folks, on that is, because we publish live to Facebook and to YouTube, both at the same time. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back through the video and find the offending content. And I'm going to mute the audio and put a nice deal up there censored by YouTube. And then I'll re-upload the video so at least it'll be in the archives. And we'll see if that satisfies them, if we don't get removed again after tonight's show. Because, they got like a 2 or 3 strikes and you're out kind of rule. So just so everybody's aware, we mentioned this in the past, but hadn't in a while. If for some reason we do get kicked off of Facebook and YouTube or whatever, you can always go to BossierWatch.com or BossierWatch.org. Either one, doesn't matter. And you'll be able to find us. We're pushing content to Rumble, and we've got some other platforms sitting there kind of waiting that I could push content to as well. So we will be on no matter what. We'll just have to find a platform that's not being an ass. Let's just put it
Yeah,
that way.
yeah, Rex. So here's the thing, guys. Across the country, your big media, I mean, Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNBC, MSNBC, YouTube, Facebook, all these different, media, social media outlets or whatever, they're censoring everything. They don't want you to know or to hear the argument that we just made that, you know, there was or there was not fraud. No, they don't want there to be a debate on that. They want it to be one way. It's their way. No, you have to deny that there was fraud. Same as abortion. No, you can't. You can't be against abortion. You have to be for abortion. And any argument to the contrary, that's false, malicious information, and they can, you know, squash your speech. Same thing with gun control. Guns are bad. Don't no no no. Don't pay attention to the fact that 46 people died because in a tractor trailer box on the southern border due to leftist immigration policy, which is basically that there's no policy. And what's the reason why leftists want all the illegal aliens coming into the country? Because that's more votes, census, social security numbers that they can utilize to have more votes that they can drop in drop boxes to try to win elections, because they can't win it straight and fair. But your media organizations, they don't want you to be able to hear any of that and to put any of that together. Here we are. We've got this little show called Bossier Watch, and we're one of how many shows, Rex? There's thousands of little shows now.
Yeah, way into the probably hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. I don't know. It's a lot.
Yeah. You can't get this discussion. Name where you have this discussion on Fox News. Name it. Fox. They're not going to have this discussion on Fox News.
The heck with Fox News. Name where you can have this on the local news.
You don't. That's right. Do you think the local news is going to talk about Tommy Chandler tonight the way we're going to talk about Tommy Chandler? No, they're not going to do it. The point is this is the new media, and your YouTubes and Facebooks and all of them are trying to control and prevent us from, you're here and you're being enlightened. Whoever thought I was freaking going to be a guy that was going to be enlightening anybody? But we're talking about stuff that you're not going to get on mainstream media, and we're one of a bunch of people, these little small shows. And what are they trying to do now that they have our number? They're trying to squash us and prevent you from getting the information. But
well, here's the thing. Now, this is, you got to remember that I make no bones about it. I'm a capitalist pig. I think everybody should be able to make as much money as they want, as long as they do it legally, and morally and all that. So I have no problem, honestly, with YouTube or Facebook censoring their content. It's their platform. Now, the argument can be made that it's kind of the common town square now, but still, they're private companies, even though they're publicly held or traded. So if they don't like it, I have to play by their rules, or I have to roll out something to compete with them. And that's the only real challenge is, YouTube and Facebook, to some extent Instagram, Rumble and the others, they're starting to come along, but they're, a drop in the bucket compared to Facebook and YouTube. But either I got to play by their rules or I got to roll out my own. I mean, we could take this show and do the show and post it on the website. As long as the web host, doesn't have a problem with the content, we're always there. The problem is you don't get the reach off of the website that you do on social media, because we're all on social media. That's the challenge.
But they want people like us to create content, and they want us to, attract audiences, to bring more people to their platform. They want us to do all that, but wait a minute. No, you can only go so far. And
but look, this has been around since the beginning of television. Don't forget Elvis Presley.
But we get to determine what's truth and what's not true. That's bull crap.
But
either it's true or either it's not. Let debate determine whether it's true or whether it's not.
I agree, except it's not our platform. It's our content, but it's not our platform. And yeah, they're monetizing our content. I mean, we don't have enough traffic to be monetized, but Google and Facebook do make money off of our content because it attracts people and blah, 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 and all that good stuff. But in the end, we got to play by their rules. That's why I don't look, everybody says censoring. It's not the government doing it. It's a private company.
Yeah, but you're right. But here's the thing: it goes back to. I mean, the first time I ever heard this, Newt Gingrich. I heard him give a speech. I think it was in Cleveland, And in his speech, no, actually, it may have been at the Southern Republican Leadership Conference. I mean, 2000, something like that. Anyway,
Right.
and he talked about 2 + 2 = 4. And he talked about how it was in Europe back during, I don't know, I don't think it was the Middle Ages. I think it was like maybe World War One, and during that time, and it was a community maybe like Austria or somewhere over there, and they were occupied by the Germans or somebody like that. And they were trying to control their mind, and they were trying to control the message and the narrative. And people in solidarity, they were being told what to think, they were being told what to say, and the people all knew that everything they were being told was lies. They knew that everything that was being said was real was not real. And so they adopted this saying, 2 + 2 = 4. And so they wrote it all down and they put it in the windows of their homes. And all the occupiers, and I'm pretty sure it was the Germans, they would like go to the houses. What does that mean? What does that mean? And they said, 2 + 2 = 4. Does it not equal 4? Or does it equal something else? The point being was that was everybody's way of saying, yeah, we all know that what they're saying, 2 + 2 = 5, is not right. But 2
Well,
+ 2 =
true,
4. And that's
but
what we're facing. That's what we're facing here today. We've
now
got
wait a minute.
social media giants are telling us 2
But
+ 2 = 5, and we all freaking know it equals 4.
But
Rex?
the difference is YouTube doesn't have a standing army and an air force. So there's a huge distinction.
Bull
And
crap.
no,
Bull
don't
crap. They
hold
got
on.
the Joe Biden of Washington D.C., and I'm not talking about Tommy Chandler. They're all in cahoots. The FBI, the CIA. I mean,
Look,
you can say black helicopters all you
we
want, but freaking
we
YouTube and
don't
Facebook have coordinated with the federal government,
sure they
and
have.
they're
They
screwing
coordinate
all of us.
They coordinate with law enforcement because they're required to, and we have too many laws on the books anyway. Thank goodness SCOTUS in the last several days has made a few tweaks to some of the laws, but it goes back to, again, that's why when people say it's censorship, it just grates on my nerves, because while we don't have true freedom of speech in this country, the government, for the most part, and I'm trying to parse my words carefully, does still allow us freedom of speech. Now, private corporations may not, okay?
They
But
don't allow us freedom of speech.
I said I'm parsing my words carefully.
Okay. I mean, if freaking people think we're free right now, y'all are blind.
No,
Look,
and freedom of speech are two different things.
Dinesh D'Souza, let me ask y'all a question. Rex, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm posing it to everybody watching.
But since you mentioned Dinesh and then get to your question. Okay, so Dinesh has an ongoing feud right now with Tucker Carlson on Fox News. And Tucker is the biggest thing on Fox News and arguably, editorialized content on Fox and the other stations, right? He's pretty much beaten CNN and the rest of them and all that. But there's like this ongoing feud, and one of them's pissed off at the other one or whatever the deal is. So Dinesh has not been on Tucker Carlson, as far as I know, to discuss the 2,000 Mules. But on the same token, Dinesh has still been able to get that video out. There are a lot of people that have seen it, or at least know about it.
Okay, that is exactly where I'm going, and I'm so glad you went there.
Good segue.
So, I'm just wondering, what percent of the population in the United States do you and the people watching, what percent do y'all think has even seen 2,000 Mules? I mean, I get on Facebook and I get on Twitter, and the leftist trolls and the so-called Republicans or conservatives, rhinos, the jackasses who say that they're conservative and are pro-American and patriotic and all this bull crap. I'm just wondering, what percent of the population do you think has actually watched the movie 2,000 Mules? What percent?
That's interesting. I would probably guess less than 10. Way less than 10.
Okay, well, I'll have to eat crow a little bit. 15%.
Ah, that's more than I thought.
So
how many people usually vote?
more than that. But
Not
the point,
usually.
but the point is, if only 15% of the population have seen or been exposed to a investigation of a fraudulent election, what how can people have, so many people have discerned a position to argue that we did or did not have a fraudulent election? Look, I stand here. Let's have a debate. You know, me and you, we can have a debate. You take one side, I take the other. Let's argue the points, and at the end of it, we should, if we are not biased and if we are legitimately arguing the facts and conceding, like if you make a good point, I should concede, you know what, Rex, that's a good point. You're right. I should concede. And then in the end, we should be able to, if we're arguing and debating facts and we are conceding, making concessions to what is a good point and what's a bad point, we should come to a conclusion. But that's what's happening now, is we're not. We've got referees throwing flags, and they're not throwing flags because they saw a foul. They're throwing flags to steer the game one freaking way. That's YouTube. Because if YouTube wanted it to be a fair debate, they would let sunlight be the disinfectant on whether geolocation is accurate or inaccurate.
Well, considering the fact that they use geolocation quite a bit. But let me just tell you, I can simplify that down even further. The problem is two words: my truth. Those two words.
Yeah.
It's the crux of the whole problem. I don't know who came up with those two words or put them together, but there is no my truth or your truth or somebody else's truth. There is the truth, what actually happened. Now, there might be people's interpretation of the events that happen, because, you know, it's just like when you have witnesses to a crime or witnesses to a tragedy or whatever. If you got 50 witnesses sitting there, you basically get 49 different versions of it. And so that's why witnesses are not the most reliable thing. But when somebody comes in and says, well, I've got to tell my truth. No, you can tell your interpretation of what happened, but there's the truth and not.
Oh, so you mean like the quote unquote girl who testified that today that she heard that Donald Trump was so enraged while he was riding in whatever vehicle. I mean, I don't know, they're in limousines in DC, the president's in limousines, to try to take the wheel from the Secret Service agent to drive himself to the Capitol after giving his speech on January 6th.
That's a long way to reach to get to the front of that limo.
Where you at, YouTube? I'm sure you've deleted that freaking all over your platform. But you got all these freaking brain eaters out there that, oh, Trump delusion, Trump.
Well, I completely concede that it is very one-sided. There is zero doubt about that. But again, if we don't like it, like Trump and some others have tried to do with rolling out, you know, Rumble and some of these other platforms and Truth Social and all that, then we got to roll out our own platform or use some of these other platforms. The only problem right now is that those have not hit critical mass. It's not where everybody is. They have a few million users, and not, the number may be higher than that. I hadn't looked lately. But they don't have the massive numbers right now that Facebook, YouTube, and some of the other platforms do. Once they get the numbers higher, I don't care about posting Bossier Watch content on YouTube. The only reason we do it is because you don't have to have a YouTube account to watch the show. You can just click and watch it. Honestly, you can do the same thing with Facebook. Facebook just keeps trying to get you to sign in. So that's the reason we're on YouTube.
Yeah, it is. And the fact of the matter is and a lot of that diatribe that I just went on, folks, is to say to y'all that a lot of folks are not getting all of the information, by choice, but a lot of them, it's because these platforms, your media, is preventing everybody from getting it. And I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. But what I am telling you is you've got an obligation to try to put that information out there. That's how we beat this thing.
Yeah.
Dinesh D'Souza at that breakfast this weekend that I attended with, I mean, that is exactly what he said. He was like, the problem we're fighting is, he said, look, he said, you know, he said, everybody thinks that I'm promoting this movie to make money. He said, it's not my money. He said, I had investors. I borrowed money to be able to make this thing. He said
Right.
it's not about making money. He said the fact of the matter is no major media is going to talk about it. He said they don't want the public to know this information. He said, and you need to take it and push it out there. He said, I don't care if you get the movie, you bring 10 people into your house, your home, and have a viewing party, knock yourself out. He said, only 15% of the population. He said, how can 15% of the population, be the only people that have been exposed to this? He said, how can the rest of the country make a logical decision on whether there was or whether there wasn't fraud when you've got all the platforms, all the media are blocking it and preventing any discussion about it? And that's what they're
Fair
doing.
point.
They're trying to prevent us from even talking about it.
Right.
So
and again, so we got to have other platforms and other means to be able to get the message out. That's what it boils down to. And so far, yeah, and we'll move on now, folks, and quit rambling about this. And so far, because we don't make any bones about it, we're both pretty conservative people. We're both Republicans, et cetera, even though we welcome everybody on the show and to comment. But we as Republicans have not been very tech savvy. We just haven't. We assume everybody thinks like we do, and why would anybody think different? But that's not the way the world works.
And it may be too late, but what happens? Okay, wait a minute. We've got an Ed Burchett sighting.
Yeah, and he's coming in on YouTube of all places, so hopefully they don't kill the feed since we're talking about it. So I'm going to put Ed's comment up on the screen. Edward Burchett says, the theory of 2,000 mules is based on a flawed theory, not hard to disprove. Okay.
Well, all right, Ed, pull maps up. I'm assuming you joined in late. Pull maps up on your phone and tell me, is it correct? The location it shows you as being at right now at this moment, is that correct or incorrect? And also, we shared a link on our page of Sequoia Turner. There were people indicted for the murder of Sequoia Turner in Atlanta in 2021. And I'm just wondering, do you think that they were indicted and arrested? And I'm not sure if they're convicted yet or not. But are you saying that they were wrongfully accused?
Well, he does say, yes, it's correct to a certain degree, Edward. I can tell you as a tech guy, it's correct to a very high degree in many cases. But again, right now, I'm inside my office, and Google at the moment, if using Google Maps, thinks that I'm outside my garage at the moment. So it's actually changed from a few minutes ago. But again, if I walk outside, they're going to locate me, with GPS being able to pick up satellites, they're going to locate me within just a few feet. So, okay, let's move on.
So hopefully the mainstream media isn't going to tell everybody that the rulings that the Supreme Court has been putting out lately are not real and they're fake. And I mean, but if they do, what can we do about it? It's their platform. If they say the Supreme Court didn't rule that, hey, states need to decide the abortion issue, I guess we have to defer to YouTube and Facebook to decide what is real and what's not real in our world and our lives now, right?
Yeah, well, it's back to that my truth, their truth, so-and-so's truth, blah, 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 blah.
And if that's going to be the case, then I got to tell you, I'm of the opinion that we need to shut down Facebook, we need to shut down YouTube, we need to shut down all of it. Because if they're going to say that our truth is real and the Supreme Court or whoever's is not real, this did or did not happen, we need to shut it all down.
No, because here's the thing. it's like we all know that the regular, what we all call the mainstream media, is slanted very much, but they still serve a role. And if we shut down all of it, then that will have a very negative ripple effect, the opposite of what you think it would actually do.
Maybe, maybe not. But what I can tell you is I would have more faith in what I read in news and information from a smoke signal coming from the piles of debris in Bossier City from Tommy Chandler allowing to pile up than I would from anything I read on social media if it's going to be constantly censored by these jackwagons.
Yeah. No. All right. So
I'm losing. I'm sorry. I'm just in rare form tonight.
that's okay. And Edward, we see your comment. One last thing on this, and we'll move on. So Edward says, so it comes down to the rule of large numbers. I can explain further if you like. Yeah, go ahead and explain it. I'll be glad to put the comment up just so folks can read it and see it. Because again, even if somebody doesn't agree with me or doesn't agree with Duke, we do welcome the comments. Now, that doesn't mean we won't call you out or whatever, but we do welcome the comments. And yes, David, he did say jackwagons already. I think probably more than once. All right. So shall we go ahead and move into the trash? We want to talk about SCOTUS. We're going to talk about, was there anything productive done by Republicans in Baton Rouge, or was it a dog and pony show?
I don't know. It's a little bit of everything. I mean, you can't talk about Baton Rouge without talking about SCOTUS, because SCOTUS has been on a roll.
Yeah.
And
let's spend a few minutes on that, because honestly, I mean, there's a lot to talk about, but way too much to talk about in one show. So let's talk a few minutes about SCOTUS and whether anything was actually accomplished in Baton Rouge, and then we'll move into the trash stuff. And the high school bass classic is just a promotional ad, so that's something I can cover in less than 1 minute. All right.
So the most hot off the presses, if nobody's heard now, in the last couple of shows, especially the last show, we kind of went off on it a little bit, but your congressional districts, the Supreme Court, they if you go to cut 11, they
let me get that pulled up there. It'll take me just a second.
They basically upheld or preliminarily upheld that the fact that the legislature drawn districts are good. The district court put an injunction on them, and it's been a big mess.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a lot of factions that were suing or arguing for multiple minority districts. The legislature spent a ton of time. I mean, they went all around the state. Remember, they had all these meetings. They did a lot of crap to build these districts. And we even articulated on our show that ultimately it wasn't going to hold water, that, the Supreme Court has been basically upholding these legislatively drawn districts across the country. There's other cases that mirrored it as well. And anyway, here we are. Justice Alito, it's made its way to the Supreme Court, and they what's the word? I think they granted writ.
Yeah,
I think that's the terminology.
A writ of
Satori.
Yeah, Satori. Can't see.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we're not lawyers. Anyway, so the Supreme Court will end up hearing the case, but not before we have elections, and not before you've got congressmen in all the districts. So that's the latest breaking thing that has come out of SCOTUS, but that's not the only thing. And I want to point out something. You see at the top there, Ardoin, Louisiana Secretary of State, versus Robinson, blah, blah, blah. And Liz Morrell, with the, I think, Solicitor General, Liz Morrell is actually the person who is arguing this case. And that's a name that a lot of you are going to hear in the future. It's a name you probably already have heard a little bit, but you're going to hear it more, because I think Liz Morrell is going to run for Attorney General. I mean, look, it's no secret. Jeff Landry is going to jump up and run for governor. Y'all better get ready, because that lady, I mean, she's packing some heat, and you better you better get yourself acquainted with her name because you're going to hear it a lot.
Very interesting. Yeah. All right. And I would say that the governor's race is going to be very interesting as well with the candidates and the way some things are. We won't go into the details, but the way that some things seem to be lining up could be very interesting. All right. So,
but that wasn't the only SCOTUS thing. I mean,
oh no,
you've been following a SCOTUS ruling as well too, right?
Well, yeah. So, of course, I'm big anything about the Second Amendment. I'm an absolutist with the Second Amendment and all that. And of course, the Bruen decision that was recently given is huge. It is without a doubt certainly the largest decision, the largest court case since Heller and McDonald. I would argue potentially larger than both the Heller and McDonald decisions from the Supreme Court back in 2010 and 2008. And basically, New York State has what they call special need. You have to demonstrate a special need to be able to get a concealed carry permit. And it's got to be a really special need, like you're a high up politician or somebody with a lot of money that can basically buy your way into it. California's the same way. New Jersey, arguably New Jersey is worse. And the recent New York State Rifle and Pistol Association case versus Bruen, the right to carry was recognized to extend outside the home, and they just smacked down on the whole special needs thing and basically said, look, it is a right in the Constitution. If you don't like it, change the Constitution. But here's the way it's going to be from now on. And of course, I'm greatly summarizing that. I would encourage everybody. I know that the other decision we're going to talk about in a second is huge as well, but I would encourage everybody to go read the Bruen decision from SCOTUS and read the summary of it and all that. It's a lot of pages, but it is unbelievably well done, and they leave no stone unturned with what the Second Amendment means. So I would argue that's been the largest decision that's come out of the court, even though everybody's focusing on overturning Roe versus Wade.
I got somebody texting that may be a calling guest that wants to kind of speak on some of this stuff here a little bit. Somebody who's been on our show before. Can you send me the call-in number real quick, because I don't have it just sitting right here in front of me?
Yeah, give me just a second. Let me actually get that fired up so we'll have it ready. I'll pull up the number and I will text it to you and you can forward that on. Hold on just a second. So bear with us for a minute, folks. Let's see here. I am sending that over now. Control-C, Control-V. Okay, cool. Yeah, I just got a text that somebody, a good friend of ours, is watching us on YouTube at the moment, so they hadn't kicked us off yet. All right, I just texted you the number.
Got it. All right, stand by. Go ahead and
yeah, and while you're doing that, yeah, Barry brings up a good point. Barry says it opens the door for concealed carry without having to apply for a permit. Yes, it does, Barry. That's the next logical step. I mean, the truth is there's nearly 30 states now that have what we loosely call constitutional carry, with the exception of Louisiana, where our actual conservative representatives and senators that, they're supposed to be so conservative and they can do this and do that, and they have enough votes to override the governor, except when it actually comes to the Second Amendment, basically, or Second Amendment type issues. They just can't seem to get it done. All right, let's see.
So, in which I can ask our guest, and I was following this ruling, or I heard it. I mean, be honest with you, I was with the abortion ruling, with I mean, that case, and there was actually believe it or not, there was an election case that came out, and we don't even have it in our notes, and you may not be familiar with it. I mean, he may call in here any second, so yeah. I'm going to talk a little bit. But there was another case, Rex. It was dealing out of a case out of North Carolina that SCOTUS, and I don't know what it is. It's like a tidal wave of rulings coming out of SCOTUS that are favorable, again, from my perspective, to the rule of law and to where I believe things should be. But basically, you had it was a voter ID law, and you had North Carolina wrote a law saying that you had to verify voter ID by a driver's license or something along that line. Well, the NAACP sued trying to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
The way I understand it and the way I read it, the attorney general of that state and the secretary of state weren't putting up an effective fight, and the Speaker of the House and the Senate President of North Carolina tried to intervene to make the case that the Secretary of State and the Attorney General of that state was not making. The district court ruled against them, that no, even though they had made the laws in their legislature, the district court ruled that they couldn't. The appeals court ruled that they couldn't. It gets to SCOTUS, and guess what? SCOTUS says, you know what? You wrote the law. Yeah, you have standing. I mean, if you wrote the law, you should be able to intervene in the case and present the argument. And it gets you to thinking, is it possible that you could have let's say, a legislature that writes laws one way and then have an elected official in a secretary of state or an attorney general that doesn't argue a case or seeks to submarine a case?
Hold on just a second. Let me answer the phone here. Okay, let's see if we get the call coming in. Hold on just a second. All right. Can you hear us?
Duke, can you hear me?
I think this is Rex and Duke's here. Duke, can you hear our guest?
I got our guest loud and clear.
All right, folks, let us know in the comments. Make sure that that y'all can hear him as well. So let me get our...
How y'all gentlemen doing this afternoon?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I hear you guys are talking a little bit about our constitutional Second Amendment rights, and y'all need a little bit of input from the legislature.
Yeah, we would like a lot of input, a lot of positive input. Are you guys down there going to actually get anything done, or y'all just going to keep twiddling your thumbs?
Well, I can tell you this: we're out of Baton Rouge. We've been in 4 sessions this year, and I think we're best when we're home because we can't pass any laws that hurt folks back home. But that's a joke. I think that the biggest issue is probably D.C. right now. Those Congress and the Senate, which are out there passing what looks like to be gun control bills. Now, I can tell you, if you look at the bill that's been passed by the Congress recently and by the Senate on the president's desk to be signed, there's some things that we can all agree upon. You know, defending our schools and providing protection to our children in our schools is a great thing. Investing in mental health is another great thing. I think we can all agree upon funding, enforcing the laws on the books and trying to put violent criminals in jail. But where we can't agree upon and where law-abiding citizens in Louisiana and across this nation should have some issues is when we see our federal government start spending money on incentivizing red flag laws, which are unconstitutional and then don't give the proper due process. When we start giving liberal attorney generals like Mr. Garland the opportunity to delay law-abiding citizens' rights to purchase a firearm, extending waiting periods, so that time which is critical for an individual to defend themselves and their loved ones, as well as seeing some of these misdemeanors get added on to prevent a person from having their Second Amendment rights. We know that if you have a felon and you're violent, you lose your gun rights, but we never thought we'd see a spot in our nation where you could have a misdemeanor and lose your rights. And that bill was passed in the Senate with 15 Republicans joining block with Democrats, which is very disappointing. We had one of our own U.S. senators from Louisiana, from a very pro-Second Amendment state, support that legislation, to my disappointment. And then it was passed in the Congress, and now it's sitting on the president's desk, and he shows his intent to sign the bill. It's the first gun control bill in a number of years.
Well, and you're right. That is a shame, because what you always hear from those folks, and was it Duke, correct me if I'm wrong, was it Cassidy that voted for that?
Yeah, that's who it was.
Yeah. Cassidy. That's a whole other conversation. But anyway,
Y-
what
yeah,
you always
speaking-
hear is we need to do something. If we just do something. No, we've got plenty of laws on the books. Stop doing that.
And speaking
Well,
of
look, if you want to have,
Cassidy, speaking of
if you,
Cassidy,
if you want,
Blake,
you're right. If you want to do something, start talking about how to strengthen law-abiding citizens' Second Amendment rights. We're never in a conversation where we ever, I say we, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I know you gentlemen are as well. We never have those conversations in D.C. about how to strengthen law-abiding citizens' rights to defend their loved ones or themselves. It's always conversations, how can we take away those individuals or weaken their Second Amendment rights? And all these laws that they pass won't actually stop any of these incidents that they're looking for. And we all know that a good guy with a gun always stops the bad guy with a gun. So why are we taking guns away from the good guys? Duke, you had a comment?
yeah, I was going to say, I don't even know that you realize this, but prior to this weekend, Cassidy did a town hall, and I mean, look, it rang at my house, and my wife was like, "Hey, Cassidy's on the phone, going to do a town hall. You want to be on it?" I was like, "Oh hell yeah, I want to be on it, and put me in the queue. I want to ask a question." I was standing there waiting on pins and needles, so I sat there and I listened through all the damn questions that he was taking, and it sounded like he wasn't taking questions but from nothing but leftists, anti-gun, take your gun leftists. He wasn't taking any question from any pro Second Amendment guy. I mean, this guy, he sold us all out. I'm sorry. I mean, and I'm not putting you on the spot, Blake, but the fact of the matter is Bill Cassidy sold us all out.
Well, Duke, you're not putting me on the spot. When I decided I wanted to run for elected office, I said I'd defend the Constitution. And I represent and be the voice of the people of Louisiana. And the voice of the people of Louisiana are we want people to defend our constitutional rights, our Second Amendment rights. And when I look at Senator Cassidy, I mean, he reminds me of an old Butch Cassidy. I mean, he tried to rob the Trump train without success a year or so ago after having Trump's endorsement on the campaign trail. Now he's trying to rob and run off with individuals and law-abiding individuals in Louisiana's Second Amendment rights. Is very concerning when you look at the fact that our U.S. Senator John Kennedy did not support the bill, and every one of our Republican congressional members, from Mike Johnson to Steve Scalise to Higgins to Graves, and to Miss Letlow, they all voted in opposition. But why does Senator Cassidy see a need in working across the aisle when National Democrats who support things like killing babies in the womb and taking away our Second Amendment constitutional rights and burning our cities and defunding police officers? Come on. We need people that are going to stand up for our Constitution, stand up for our country right now. We need strong Republicans. We don't need you working across the aisle with leftists like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. You're from Louisiana. We expect you to be the voice of Louisiana and do your job in Washington. That's the message from the folks back home.
Exactly correct.
Damn right.
Good short message. And here's the other thing too is any laws that are passed concerning guns at all or self-defense rights or anything like that are only to either A, take away more rights, or B, to try to give back rights that have already been taken away. We don't need 40,000 laws on the books across the federal and the state governments about guns. We just don't. And the right to self-defense. And I would like to clarify too, so that everybody is aware, and if you read the Bruen decision, they spell it out pretty clearly there as well, that the Second Amendment does not give us the right to do this. It protects that right, and it is actually, as we all know, a check and balance on the federal government. And I think that Cassidy has got his wires crossed. He apparently must have tripped and fell and hit his head or something silly, and he doesn't understand how it should work now.
Well, there's been a lot of bad news, and I know we're frustrated with what Congress has been doing, but mainly controlled by Democrats, and some of these Republicans are empowering Democrats to have even more power over our Second Amendment and other constitutional rights. But I can say I'm proud of the Supreme Court this past week on the issue of gun rights with the New York law that they struck down, which, the law in New York for decades, I think it's a century-old law now, that says that an individual had to show proper cause as to why that individual needed a right to carry a firearm to defend themselves. So, the rich and the elite that have jewelry shops or that have a lot of money that need to protect it, those individuals that get the right to defend themselves. But the normal everyday guy or an everyday lady couldn't show proper cause to defend herself. And we know the Constitution provides equal protection under the law. And the Second Amendment doesn't see gender, it doesn't see color. It just sees law-abiding U.S. American citizens, and it's all of our rights together. And I'm proud that on a 6-3 decision that the U.S. Supreme Court knocked down that law. It's been one of the most powerful decisions since the Heller case about 12 years ago, which defined the Second Amendment as a right to defend yourselves and your loved ones. But now we're understanding that everybody has that right. And I think the Justice Clarence Thomas led on that issue. And if you go back and read his opinion, he had some pretty powerful words as comparing the Second Amendment to some of the other constitutional rights and how it's so important to defend those.
Yeah, and one other interesting thing, too, that not a lot of people realize is the McDonald decision in 2010, which said that the right was applied against the state and local governments. Most people don't realize that McDonald in that case was a black fella, too, by the way. And so this isn't just, a bunch of white folks that want their guns kind of thing at all. And I would argue, I wouldn't even have to argue it, I could pull up some proof pretty easily, that a lot of the gun control laws were enacted during the Reconstruction period and all that. And they were enacted specifically to try to get the guns out of the hands of the newly freed slaves. And I know I'm going way off on a tangent here, but I just don't understand how people forget all that.
You make some great points, and not just the time of newly freed slaves. We fast forward ourselves into this century and looking at the Jim Crow era laws. I know the National Rifle Association pushed very hard in Louisiana. I authored some legislation that was able to strengthen preemption law, which basically said that if you want to pass any type of gun law, it has to be on the state level and not the local level. You never want to put yourself in a situation where you're creating a patchwork of laws per parish, where a law-abiding citizen from Shreveport or Bossier or New Iberia, where I live, could leave and go to Orleans Parish and all of a sudden become a criminal because he didn't follow the local ordinances. If it's a good law, whether it's pro-gun or anti-gun, that should be debated at the state level. And a lot of these old laws on the books, particularly there's one still in play in Orleans, was to keep African Americans who are open and carrying on the streets to protest police brutality at the times. This goes back to the Black Panthers and some of those historic times. And most African Americans in Louisiana are in the Democratic Party, which doesn't stand for our Second Amendment rights. And I ask those individuals to read history, study history. The Republicans were the ones that supported freeing slaves. Republicans are the ones that supporting your Second Amendment constitutional rights. So why are you registered as a Democrat? Because these individuals have historically not supported your constitutional rights. And I just think people need to open up the history books and read a little bit and see where we've come, and you'll know where we're going with all this.
Yeah, I agree. And let me give you one other quick history reminder, too, that will probably get a bunch of rocks thrown at me by my Republican friends, is what Democrat basically started gun control in the state of California, right?
I do. I know who it is.
Somebody,
he's a great president, but that's one of his negatives about him.
Somebody named Ronald Reagan, and it was specifically against the open carry of the Black Panthers. And from that little deal, we've ended up where we are in California, New Jersey, and all these other places. But I digress.
Now,
look,
I'd
like to give your listeners a little update on where we are in the state level. I know we've been talking about national politics, but there was some things happening at the Capitol where I serve in the Baton Rouge that dealt with Second Amendment rights, if y'all are interested in hearing about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and when you give us that update, Blake, I want to talk a little bit about some discrimination down there at the Capitol.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like we can have an interesting conversation about that. But real quick on the Second Amendment, we tried really hard to get this constitutional carry moving for the last few years, and we were able to pass it last year. And that basically says that if you are a law-abiding citizen, you don't need government permission or to pay any types of fees or get any type of special training to carry a firearm to defend yourselves. Look, in Louisiana, open carry is perfectly legal. What's the big difference about wearing a jacket or hiding your firearm? Personally, practically, as a gun owner myself, I like individuals to conceal their firearms. I don't want them carrying them out in the open, although they have a right to. I prefer concealed carry because the old ladies, at Walmart in public, it doesn't get them upset as much. And you're only supposed to use that firearm when you actually need it to defend yourself. Otherwise, you don't want anybody knowing you have it. Plus, it acts as a great deterrent for criminals. They don't know who's armed. They just assume everybody's armed. So that bill was vetoed by the governor last session. It didn't make it through the process this go around. But we were able to get a small step in the right direction as the bill from Senator Jay Morris from North Louisiana. And it basically gives the constitutional carry rights to active and former military, those vets out there that, the governor was making a contention that, we need training for these things. Well, who's better trained than our military and our veterans? I mean, they've been trained, they've gone to war, most of them fought for our country, sacrificed. They should have these rights to defend themselves back on their homeland that they fought and they loved. And we were able to pass that into law. So if you're a law-abiding citizen and you're over the age of 21 and you're active military or former veteran, as of whenever that law goes into place, I think it's August 1st, or it could be on the signature of the governor, and it was just recently signed, you're going to have the right to have constitutional carry in Louisiana. Hopefully that's the first step in the right direction to getting more rights. I also passed some legislation that's called the Louisiana Firearm Safety Awareness Act. And I'm on the Appropriations Committee, and I studied the fact that state police was collecting around $4.5 million a year of revenue from concealed carry permit holders, but they're only spending around $2.5–3 million to run the program. I think the rest of that money was going into their general fund to use for other things. Well, I said, well, why not take some of that money, invest it into a program that's going to make our firearms community in our streets safer? So for a small portion of that $20,000 of the fiscal note, we're going to require state police to have the concealed carry curriculum, the gun safety curriculum that shows accident prevention, that shows conflict resolution, how to safely handle a firearm. They're going to put that online in different videos, eight videos, 15 minutes long, with a whole outline of curriculum at no cost to Louisiana citizens. I mean, that's a step in the right direction just to make our community safer. We also had a bill that dealt with individuals, veterans that had PTSD from going to war, and they just thought they were in a mental state that maybe they shouldn't have a firearm. They recognized it, where they could actually take their firearms and turn them into a local federal firearms dealer. And when they thought that their mental situation was right, we're talking about this voluntarily turning them over. They could come back to the federal firearms license dealer, get their guns back, and it would basically give a limitation of liability to those dealers that wanted to help these vets out holding these firearms while they're going through some of these mental challenges, trying to seek help and rehabilitation. So that's just a small overview of some of the gun legislation we had in the state capitol that all got passed and signed into law just recently over the last month.
That's good. Look, thank goodness we have leaders like you when it comes to our Second Amendment rights. I know that, you do a lot of other stuff on a lot of other issues as well. But, after talking with you this weekend, there's one issue that kind of came to mind. And Rex, if you'll go to that cut from this weekend, there's one that I want to raise and I want to get your comment on, Blake. So I was wondering, how tall are you, Blake?
I'm 6 foot tall. That's an easy question. I thought tough was coming.
That is exactly what I was wondering. The first time I came to Baton Rouge and I came down to the legislature, and I can't remember what representative it was, but Representative Henry Burns introduced me to a legislature down there, and it was one of the times that I was going to run, and he says, man, I am glad to see you down here. He says, I have been fighting discrimination down here for the past 2 terms, and I can't get nothing done. He said, this is what he says to me, Blake. He says, I've been fighting to get the urinals lowered for us normal people. And he said, I just ain't had no success. So I'm wondering if you can report if the Capitol has addressed the disparity in the height of the urinals down there.
Yeah, I've got Representative Rick Edmonds working on that one. He's got a great center of gravity, just like yourself. He's working on that. But most of us, we don't have an issue with that. But I can understand with that being an issue. But look, if you want, you can always go to the ladies' bathroom. There's one dedicated for that. That's a whole different set of issues.
Yeah.
Oh no!
These days, who knows?
I'm not into that LGBTQT whatever that all. I don't know all them letters. That's off limits for me, brother. But hey, I can take a joke.
Well, guy, I appreciate you being such a good sport about it, and the reason why I threw Representative Rick Edmonds in there. He's a good friend, a good conservative, Christian, fighting for all the right issues. But every once in a while, you just gotta have a little bit of fun and crack some jokes with your buddies in Baton Rouge. If you got to have fun while you're there. And
That's
you're right.
right.
We are very passionate about these issues. I'm passionate about the Second Amendment, but I'm also passionate about protecting lives in the womb. I'm also passionate about fighting tax increases and keeping government small and holding government accountable. And that's what I do on the Appropriations Committee. And I know a lot of individuals get upset with the folks in Baton Rouge, but I'll tell you, the numbers are growing for individuals like myself that want to do the right thing, that want to be the voice of the people back home. And we just need the help from the folks back home to keep electing good conservative candidates that can really serve your interests and stop electing these career politicians to send to Baton Rouge or to send to Washington. And we can change our state and improve it for our future over the next decade.
Amen
Hey,
to
Blake,
that.
Blake, we got to squeeze them, right? Down at the local level, we got to vet them. Is that not truth? I mean, when people are running for office, I mean, the voters, you're the ones that's got to do it. They have to get up there and they have to squeeze them and press them on these issues and find out where they really stand, right? Isn't that how we do it? Isn't that
That's
what we
right.
need to
Look,
do?
our school boards are more important than ever now. I mean, the Republican Party's having training sessions just to make sure we get the right folks in our school boards because of all this crazy curriculums that are coming out that the far left, woke left, is trying to put and instill upon our kids to brainwash them. So you're right. We need to vet these candidates at the local level, but we also need to stay involved as these legislators or these candidates get elected to office and what they're doing while they're in Baton Rouge. They've got to hear from folks back home. Look, we're looking at a potential override session right now. If no one from back home calls, we won't go into an override session. But if folks back home care about things like transparency in government, their health freedoms, letting violent criminals repeat offend and get out of jail early, or protecting our law enforcement, just a number of issues. I think there's 29 Republican bills the governor just vetoed. If you care about those things, let your legislators know that you want to go into a veto override session and override this governor.
Yeah,
What's that?
we preach all the time on the show that people need to get more involved and they need to let their voices be heard. That's step number one.
That's right.
All right, Duke, got anything else we want to go over?
No, Blake, we appreciate you coming on the show real quick. I mean, I know Second Amendment issues are you're like a moth to the flame, and but hey, don't be a stranger. It was good seeing you down in Baton Rouge this weekend, and I think it was productive. I think that Dinesh spoke well. I mean, I think I think it motivated a lot of people. What did you think?
Yeah, and to correct that was Lafayette. That was my home area over there, and we had the first state convention. It was called Victory 2022 for the Republican Party. They hadn't had one in over a decade, and I can tell you, I was excited to be there. We had a lot of great breakout sessions, a lot of great individuals exchanging thoughts, and a lot of the common ground was let's figure out how to win in 2022 with the red wave. Let's figure out how to get our governor's office back and have a supermajority in both the House and the Senate in 23. And I thought the event was successful. They had to have over 1,000 people there, a lot of vendors, a lot of candidates running for office. We need to do it again next year. It was great seeing you there. The red wave's coming, Duke, and we're looking forward to it.
Amen, brother. Well, hey, thanks for coming on the show tonight, and we'll do it again soon.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show, and God bless your listeners, and God bless the great state of Louisiana. We will improve this state. We just got to get your help back home and elect some good candidates and a good governor. And like I said, 10 years, we can get this state off the bottom and make it better for our children and hopefully keep our children from moving out to other states. So God bless your listeners. God bless Louisiana. Call anytime. I'm happy to be on the show. Come back in the future.
Thanks a lot, Blake. Appreciate
Amen,
it.
brother. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rex. So this weekend was pretty eventful, and a lot of folks may not have known it. The LAGOP had an event down in Lafayette. I said Baton Rouge. My bad.
Well, I think I had it on the screen as Baton Rouge. Shame on me. So I just
Lafayette is no Baton Rouge. I got to tell you, I was impressed with Lafayette. Lafayette is a happening town, and man, it's a moving and a shaking down there. You been down there in a while?
I hadn't been down there in a while. Last time, I drove through there about a year and a half ago. Of course, I usually stop at Prejean's, which is like one of my all-time favorite restaurants every time I go through there. But I hadn't been down there for an event in a while.
Well, what I will tell you is again, we're going to go back to this cancel culture thing, and there was cancel culture down there.
What?
As
No way.
yeah, I swear to you. So, just like YouTube canceling our video the other day. So, get this. So, Eventbrite,
Right.
you have these events, right? So the LAGOP puts this thing on. They have these different speakers and they have these different things, and so you know you pay. It's a way to do a little fundraising too, but you
Right.
pay to go to these lunches or breakfasts or whatever.
Yeah, it
So
makes it easy to sell the tickets and for everybody and all that kind of stuff.
and it pays for the cost, that thing. They had the Cajun Dome. I mean, I don't know what
Right.
the Cajun Dome costs. I mean, it costs to have those things, employees, people cooking. I mean, you got to offset all those costs, so you have to charge something. So everybody pays. Well, so they kind of schedule these things through Eventbrite.
Right.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's Eventbrite. Um, well, Eventbrite, upon learning that Dinesh D'Souza was one of the speakers, they refunded everyone who was in attendance their monies that they paid to attend.
Wow.
That and cited, as I'm told, Dinesh D'Souza and the false allegations of the fraudulent election. Can you believe that?
That is
When,
crazy.
yeah. So don't do any business with Eventbrite. That's my take on it. I mean, that is such BS, and I don't know for sure, but like they charge like a $6.50 fee, I think,
Sure.
per
Yeah.
each transaction. Well, they freaking refunded all the money, but they kept their $6.50.
Well, of course they did. Yeah, because I won't get into the whole credit card discussion on it, but that's crazy. And well, here's the heck of it is you got to go through Eventbrite for a lot of stuff if you want to go to it. It gets to be a real challenge. Here's what I say on that. Now, I don't disagree with you, but it's like if I wanted to not use everything that I disagree with somebody, we'd have to put all the electronics up. I mean, because look, I don't agree with Tim Cook's policies and a lot of Apple's social policies, but I like my iPhone and I like my Mac. And so it becomes
I'm the same way.
It becomes a problem. They have
It is a
infested
problem.
our lives.
They have, and hey, there's Patriot Mobile out there. You heard of them?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're to where Apple or where even the Droids or Samsungs. I'm got a little bit of technical difficulty going there. I don't think they're to where any of those are. But Patriot Mobile, I mean, they're not going to be able to compete with Verizon and all that. But it is an alternative. It is.
It is an alternative, but again, here's the problem. Is it a viable alternative? Because, again, they don't have the coverage. And look, if they're offering Android phone, let's say that, and I don't know that much about Patriot Mobile other than hearing some of their ads, but even if they've got the coverage, and even if they say, we're not going to do Apple products because we don't support Apple's social agenda or whatever, well, you're going to have to run Android or you're going to have to develop your own mobile operating system. And guess who develops Android? Google. That's their creature.
Yeah, that's right. Well, but people have to start sharing information.
Right.
That you've got to do it on a minor scale because big media and the big social media platforms, they are preventing everyone and a majority of the population from seeing what's real. I mean, they're censoring it.
But
Period.
look, I'll just go back to this. The GOP is, the reputation is the party of business people and the party of rich people. Again, that's the reputation, not truth. But why can't the GOP roll out their own technology? Why not?
Oh, I totally agree.
So if we don't, if we can't beat them, we need to join them. And the way we join them is by coming up with competing technology. But that's a whole other conversation. All right.
Speaking of technology, I understand that in Bossier City, Tommy Chandler has introduced some new technology.
Oh, wait. Now I'm interested in this. Now you got me interested.
Tommy Chandler, he is solving the problems of Bossier City, and
Really?
he has introduced some new technology in Bossier City. In fact, in cut one, he was even promoting it, and he promoted it on the mayor's Facebook page.
Well, let's check out cut one real quick. Whoops, let me see if I can get it over there on the screen.
I think he may have he named it too.
That's I don't even know where to start. Well, I know where I could start with this, but this is
Did you think I was making it up?
No, I had seen the pictures, and you know, I'm friends with Chris, who has the man-made soap deal and who does the Bossier night market and all that. So, full disclosure, Chris is a good friend of mine. He's a good guy too.
No, hey, good. It's not Etch-a-Sketch. No,
Etch-a-Sketch. This is Tommy's Swamp Ass Soap. Cleans the worst cases of stink and sweat caused by swamp ass. Also treats swamp balls. Well, I
almost don't know what to say. I almost don't
That's
know
hilarious.
what to say. So he's promoting his own soap, swamp ass soap, and he is professing that it will clean certain parts of the human anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it does anything for a lack of human anatomy.
Well, yeah, it says it treats swamp balls, but what if there's a lack of them? But I don't know. That was mean. I shouldn't have said that. And look,
yeah, and I shouldn't have said that either. But
I want to be crystal clear that I hadn't bought any of Tommy's swamp ass soap, but I've bought some of Chris's soap products in the past, and hey, the stuff's actually pretty good. So whether the swamp ass soap is or not, I don't know.
Well, is this what people in Bossier voted for? I don't think it is. I mean, I think people voted for something else. I think there were other commitments, you know, as far as when it comes to cleanliness that people had in mind. I don't think this is what people had in mind, Rex.
Well, I wonder if he's getting a percentage of the soap sales to help his campaign. That's interesting.
Well, if he is, I got an idea where he could contribute that money to help actually do something about cleanliness. If that's, but wait a minute.
Hey, maybe in his defense, in Tommy's defense, maybe he was down there loading up on soap to help with the need for cleanliness around Bossier City. Maybe it's legit.
You know, it's interesting that you say about cleanliness of Bossier City, because as I recall, I mean, that was another campaign thing that he ran on, you know,
let's see if I can pull that up here. Would that be like this campaign promise?
Yeah, I think that was I don't remember. It was
February 2021.
Yeah, February. Tommy Chandler mayor right there. Clean our roads and medians. Bossier City used to receive Clean City Awards. I mean, I'm not holding my breath for us getting any more. Today, our roads and medians have litter accumulated on our roads. We need to run our street sweepers more frequently, pick up the trash on the side of the road, and catch litter bugs in the act. If you're proud of Bossier City, then you shouldn't litter. There's Bo, guys. He's here. He's guarding me while I got my back. Anyway, and I would add that if anybody is looking for, you know, a shower mat, there's one on Benton Road, just south of 220, you know, on the west side of Benton Road. You're welcome to it. It's been there at least a week, but, you know, free shower mat on the side of the road. But,
well, all right. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, because we did bring this very issue up months and months ago while Tommy was still considered a sort of quasi-amigo. And if memory serves me, Didn't Tommy make a deal about, was it getting some street sweepers out and cleaning up around, was it around Hamilton Road or somewhere? I forget what the whole deal was. Maybe somebody can remind me in the comments.
Well, I don't remember Hamilton Road, but I do remember he had a bunch of the city employees all up there on Benton Road cleaning up at around 2:20, bright early in the morning in the middle of traffic. And I'm wondering now if that was another PR stunt just to show everybody coming to work into town into Bossier that, hey, he was following through on his campaign promises. But, you know, as it would turn out, I think maybe here's another campaign promise that's not being followed up on, Rex.
Well, I don't know. Maybe so. So I'm going to go to cut 3. And let me pull this up real quick. So this is a screenshot of a Facebook post from June 14th. It says, so when did Bossier City trash pickup get so lazy they will not pick up a limb after a storm? They want $25 and for someone to call to get it picked up. Guys, this is BS in the 4th incident this year. Make sure you know who you vote for or your expenses continue to rise. Now, well, maybe they want the $25 and to go along with the sales of the swamp ass soap.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, a little swamp ass soap would take care of this problem, but something's telling me that a little swamp ass soap ain't going to take care of even this one problem on this date. This week, a little bit of information started rolling into Bossier Watch, and I don't know, this could be long and drawn out, but because we thought, well, okay, one or two people kind of got aggravated a little bit,
Right.
not getting their trash picked up or whatever. But as it would turn out, with a few trips around Bossier City, it would seem that it's not just one location, Rex. It actually happens to be a lot of locations, and it actually happens to be in a lot of subdivisions. It actually happens to be both North Bossier, South Bossier, Central Bossier. It's freaking all over Bossier.
Well, all right. So, folks, here's the deal. If you have limbs in your yard waiting to be picked up, if you have trash in your yard waiting to be picked up, all you need to do is go down to Man-Made Soap, buy some of Tommy Chandler's Swamp Ass Soap, and you can clean everything up in your yard for the low, low price of $9.95.
Now, you put up just 2 pictures, Rex. But
There's a lot of pictures. This will take a little while.
Let's keep going through them all. I mean, we don't want everybody to think that we're just cherry picking a couple of pictures and making a thing. We want everybody to know that all these pictures that we're fixing to scroll through is a different residence all across Bossier City. And
our apologies to anybody's house or whatever that we call out. We're not calling out because you put your stuff out there to the curb. We're showing these pictures because your stuff out there at the curb ain't been picked up yet. But Tommy is over there promoting his swamp ass soap to clean his balls.
And it ain't getting picked up. I mean, it's not getting picked up anywhere in the city. Well, wait a minute. I'll back up. It is getting picked up in certain parts of the city. To the credit of one city councilman, there is things getting picked up in his district. And that would be none other than Councilman Vince Maggio. To his credit, and Rex, we'll show a picture here in a minute.
Okay, is it one of these pictures in this group, or is there a cut for that?
Yep, it's in there. Just keep coming.
Man.
You'll bring it up here in a minute.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how many pictures that I ended up getting sent to me that I have dumped into this file. I mean, there might be 50 different residences of images of trash on the street like this across Bossier City, from South Bossier to North Bossier.
I can tell you we were sent 36 pictures. I can at least tell you that. I'm not sure if I can keep our little collage going here.
I didn't put them all in there. I didn't put them all in there, but there's one picture where there is a trash dumpster. Apparently, we haven't confirmed this with Maggio. We haven't talked to him, but according to someone down in Old Bossier, they said that Vince took it upon himself, paid for a trash dumpster to be put down there in Old Bossier so that people around there could put the trash in there, and he pays for it at his expense to be hauled off.
Well, good for Vince.
Now,
Is this the picture of it right here?
I think that's the one when they sent that to me whenever they were telling me the story. Well, my problem is swamp ass soap that Tommy's selling, is that paying for that? Why is it that your freaking councilmen have to do that kind of crap? They shouldn't have to be doing that. That's not, you don't want your councilman picking up trash.
Well, and look, kudos to Vince for putting that out there and doing that, but I'm sure it's because he went down and bought some swamp ass soap and started using it. He was like, you know what? Not only do I want to use swamp ass soap to clean my balls, but I want to use it to go get a dumpster and stick out here to help clean up the city.
So I don't know. I'm just saying and we haven't even scratched the surface of putting all the images up of these different locations with all this trash piled up on the streets. It was in Old Green Acres Place. Central Park, South Bossier, Sobo. This ain't all of Sobo. Central Bossier, Old Bossier. It's a freaking everywhere. Yeah. And we could keep going all night long with these pictures, guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
And the point is it safe to say that the Clean City Awards that Tommy was saying we needed to do something about, I'm just wondering, maybe, can we conclude that this is another campaign promise that's not been fulfilled or, turned his back on?
Maybe it's a work in progress. But then again, maybe he just didn't have the photo opportunities to go around and pick up the rest of the trash. That's always a possibility. Him and MJ should get together.
Well, they did get together. Remember Tommy put out a text saying that MJ endorsed him.
Right.
Against Ann Price. But I don't know, that got retracted. Hey, Jeff Gatos, look, okay, this has no coincidence whatsoever, but I seen Jeff Gatos. I know Jeff Gatos in a professional capacity, and it prompted me to something else that I've actually been wanting to address for a long time.
Okay.
I want to go back to a little walk down memory lane and this swamp ass soap. I'm wondering, we got an anonymous message, Rex, in our email stuff talking about how the fact that Tommy Chandler said that there was this meeting between Shane McWilliams when Shane McWilliams supposedly was going to retire. And what we were told is the fact that Tommy lied and that meeting never happened. Remember that?
Yep, I sure do.
Well, I'm just wondering, did the swamp ass soap clean all that up? Or was there actually a meeting, or was there not a meeting? Because we're told that there was no meeting. It never took place, that was a bald-faced lie, that it never happened. I'm wondering what's real and what's not real. And Jeff Gatos, in regards to the favors, yeah, Jeff, I remember that post. And I'm wondering too, so what Jeff is talking about is, I don't know how to say this. It wasn't Jeff Gatos' post. He must have saw the post, because I did respond to it, and I don't even remember exactly what I said, but I made reference to the fact that, there was some law enforcement officer that was irritated about the fact of people calling law enforcement people for favors on getting out of tickets. And I made some comment about, well, maybe some of the people at the top of the political food chain and the favors that they get, I don't know, maybe they shouldn't be getting the favors that they get.
Right.
Which, Rex, brings me to mind that we need an attorney.
Yes, we do.
We need an attorney. I mean, I'm Jeff Gatos has nothing to do with what we're about to say and what we're about to ask for. He doesn't have a clue. And my comment on that Facebook post that he said was me thinking about favors and what I'm thinking about right now and what we're going to make this request to somebody, some lawyer in the public, because we're pretty sure that we have an idea and have evidence and have information about public corruption. We have
Yes.
witnesses,
Yes.
and
multiple
we have
witnesses.
multiple witnesses, and we're not talking about a quantity that you can count on one hand.
Right.
We're talking about more than you can count on one hand. And our law enforcement entities are not going to do anything about it.
That is correct.
They're not going to do anything about it. There's only one way.
And not because they haven't been asked.
And not because they haven't been asked. Not because they haven't been provided all of the information. So there is only one way to shine the light of disinfectant, and that is by virtue of a lawsuit and deposing numerous, I guess they're witnesses, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's how it has to be.
Right.
And so if there is a lawyer out there who is not been using swamp soap and affected, some anatomy of their bodies, and
well, let's just be blunt. We need a lawyer who's not a member of the Good Old Boys Network
and is willing to pursue, wherever it may go, in which it's going to go a lot of places. We already know everywhere it will go. Let's see who is an attorney that has a set and willing to go all the way, and who believes in transparency, who believes in good government, who believes in public accountability. We've got issues in Bossier Parish, and let's play ball.
Yeah, let's get it out there. And if nothing else, we should just release it anyway. But I agree, a courtroom would be a good place to get this stuff out there, get it on the record, literally on the record.
So again, Jeff Gatos, he has not a clue as to what we're talking about. But when I made that post on, and I don't even know whose page it was on, but I saw it and it was talking about favors. That was what was on my mind. And you know what? Hey, you might have been just the catalyst to promote something to get moving, but anyway.
Well, look, not only do we need to literally get the trash picked up around Bossier, but also politically, the trash needs to get picked up. And folks, there is some real trash out there. Not hearsay, none of that. Direct evidence.
Direct evidence. I'll put it to you like this. Video.
Yeah.
There's video. So to the lawyer listening out there, we don't just have more than one witness that you can count on one hand. We actually have video to back up the case.
Yes.
Video.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to kind of skip, if I can talk, I'm going to kind of skip the knife rights tonight, except to say that the recent SCOTUS decision also has a bearing on concealed carry of knives, which you would think, what does that have to do with anything? You can carry a knife around, but au contraire, not necessarily. But did you know, Duke, I want to mention this, Louisiana, you can now, not only can you now carry a switchblade, which has been illegal in Louisiana for many years, you can conceal carry a switchblade now. Did you know that?
I did not know that. and that is good news. I mean, I will carry that in one pocket and my swamp soap in the other pocket.
That's right. You can shave off bits of your swamp soap with your switchblade as you go around
I
and pick
mean,
up trash.
those two things could work together, it seems like.
Yeah. I just hate it because, well, thinking about, and hey, good, I hate to say it again, but thinking about swamp balls was not high on my agenda tonight, but apparently there it is. Okay.
Hey, now there is one picture I want. I have to show. You've
All
got
right.
to go to cut 7, and we got to bring this up now, guys. This is quintessential Louisiana here, and I made a promise to my wife as well too. I was going to include her on the show tonight. So,
Hey, I recognize those people.
David Womack called me Dyke.
Dyke. Dyke was yelling at the
He called me
monitor.
Dyke.
Was that
So
one of those LBGTQ
I
pronoun words?
I don't know, but I mean, maybe that's Elm Grove and some kind of language they use down there. I mean, no slight on Elm Grove people. Every experience I've ever had with Elm Grove people was good, but if y'all got some new language going down there, y'all gonna have to elaborate on the rest of us in Bossier Parish because I don't quite get it. I'm not like that, David Womack. That's not me.
Yeah. All right. So explain the picture. Obviously, you are
Well,
standing there with your beautiful bride and our current state attorney general, Mr. Jeff Landry.
Well, as fate would have it, we're going to Baton Rouge down here, and I got a ton of pictures, with Albert Guillory. It was his birthday down there. I took a picture with him to use on the show. Jamie Pope and
Yeah.
Danny McCormick and a lot of different folks. But Jeff was kind of like I hate to say the keynote speaker. And anyway, and I knew Jeff, been friends with Jeff a while, and we took a picture with Jeff. But the main reason that I wanted to take a picture with Jeff was that suit. Because on the way down, I told Kara I would wear a suit like that. You give me a suit like that, I'd wear that. Be, 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 being the trophy husband that I am and all, I would wear that suit, and she wouldn't let me wear it.
Trophy husband.
Do I need to
There's
hit the
so
mute?
many. There's so many places I could go with the trophy husband. Deal, I'm wearing a suit like that.
So I promised her that I would include her in tonight's show and we would talk about, something. And anyway, so this is my lovely bride, Jeff Landry, and myself.
Yeah, and I would like to point out, Melanie Stevenson Worley says he matches Kara nicely. Not the trophy husband or attorney general, and possibly, well, he will definitely be a gubernatorial candidate. So.
Yeah, he'll definitely be a gubernatorial candidate, and Billy Nungesser was there as well too, and and I'm going to report it the way that I saw it, and Billy gave a good speech, Jeff gave a good speech, but I think overwhelmingly the majority of people there were supportive of Jeff Landry. I'm biased, but my take on reaction from everyone there, they were overwhelmingly in support of Jeff Landry.
Hey, just so you know, our good friend Shane Cheatham says, I'm going to get you one of those suits to wear on the show.
I'll wear that. I would do that. I would.
That would be interesting. All right, Mr. Lowry. Anything else we want to talk about tonight other than seersucker suits or whatever those things are called?
I think everybody needs to, let Bossier City have hell. I mean, I've got a pile of limbs next to my office. I mean, it's ridiculous that our city is falling by the wayside. There is a problem. I think the problem starts at the mayor's office, and it, arguably, is there councilmen that bear responsibility? Yeah, there are, because Vince, hat tip to you for the trash dumpster, but you know what? You were elected to be a councilman. you need to hold the mayor accountable because it's his job managing these things in the city. And if you're not holding him accountable, next council meeting, all of you councilmen, and y'all need to freaking crack the whip. Enough of this.
What's that saying? See something, say something. Is that what that saying is? You've seen the trash.
Yeah.
Time to say something.
Yeah, you've seen the trash. Enough of this good old boy crap. You need to put the damn whip on him, and you need to get this taken care of. Our city looks like crap. Just drive down Benton Road. If you're a councilman, get the shower thing for the floor. It's laying in the middle of Benton Road, right there on the west side of the shoulder, right there on the asphalt or the blacktop. Get it.
Yeah,
it's a freaking shower pad for the bottom of it. It's ridiculous. Is that Bossier City? Is that the definition of Bossier City? Yeah, Tommy Chandler. I'm embarrassed for our city. I'm embarrassed.
Yeah. All right. Well, and somebody commented earlier that you could basically like furnish a house if you just drive up and down 220 and I-20 through Bossier. So there's that too. All right, Mr. Lowry, it's been another enjoyable evening. And we did manage to find something to talk about. And, of course, we always enjoy having Blake Miguez in as a guest. So I thought that went really well, too.
Now, y'all go get y'all some swamp ass soap. It does wonders for, and we'll just leave it there.
And, look, post them on your Facebook feeds or post them over on Bossier Watch in the comments and tag Tommy Chandler when you post pictures of your own bars of swamp ass soap.
Yeah, tag Tommy.
All right. We're out here, folks.
Good night,
We
Rick.
appreciate everybody
Good night,
watching.
folks.